Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming, especially after the ordeal we all suffered through last evening. I can't think of a time, whether it's a State of the Union or just simply a state address, where there were so many mistruths spoken about the nation's number one anti-poverty program for the elderly and the number one anti-poverty program for children, as well as a program that provides disability for more veterans than the VA. We're gathered here this afternoon with colleagues on the Ways and Means Committee and other co-sponsors of legislation. Prior to the speech last night, we had proposed, in reaction to Elon Musk and the president's concept of closing district offices. It's disheartening, but we're here to discuss three bills that have been introduced and co-sponsored by everybody standing before you. Keeping Our Field Offices Open Act, pretty self-explanatory. Protecting Americans' Social Security data, again, especially with the DOGE. I call them Dodge, not Doge, because they seem to dodge accountability at every level possible. And also a resolution of inquiry. And we find this most important because we've not been able to call these witnesses before the Ways and Means Committee. I'm so honored to be here with our chairman, Richie Neal, who there's no stronger advocate for Social Security in the Congress. And there's no one who knows more about it. And primarily because he lived it. He lost his mother. He lost his father. He then lost his grandmother, who was taking care of he and his brothers and sisters. He, from the outset, when he first asked me to take on the assignment of ranking and then chair of the Social Security Subcommittee, said we have to make sure that we get this program done and not only protect but expand benefits. And we find ourselves in a constitutional crisis where we're dealing with a president and some unappointed authority that is out front talking about cuts and closure, while at the same time saying, oh no, they're not going to harm or touch Social Security. And just this past weekend, the president called the number one anti-poverty program for the elderly, where 40 million Americans, this is the only benefit they have. He called it a scam. And the person he's directed to, not uncoincidentally, fined $2 trillion in cuts. And Nancy, how much money is there in the trust fund? I think it's $2 trillion. Oh, yes. So you find we know what the objective is here, and this is why we stand united to stop it. It starts with making sure that there's no closing of these offices that people so depend on. 70 million Americans. And for our Republican colleagues in rural states, I hope you recognize the difficulty that you're going to be placing on the citizens you're sworn to serve as they try to get the services and benefits ordered by their office, as well as protecting data. There's nothing more important to the American people than the privacy of their data. And to allow these 24 and 18-year-olds into the Social Security Administration and to be able to look at data for what purpose? We want them in front of our committee and answering questions about what their goal and specific reason is for this data, and in the process insisting they have no right to it. And I commend Michelle King for having the guts and the determination to stand up to Elon Musk and say, no, this is inappropriate. This is not the data that you need or should seek. And so that forces us to come to a resolution of inquiry that will force, if the Congress does not respond within 14 work days, it will allow us to go to the floor and demand the presence of Mr. Musk and his cohorts before our committee to answer questions. And the person that's been leading that, and the person who's the foremost advocate of Social Security in the Congress through example, is the ranking member and soon-to-be chair, Rich Neal.
Thanks, John. Thanks, John, very much. So there's something really cruel about the richest man in the world calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme. That implies it's illegal, it's illicit, it's untoward. When Franklin Roosevelt 90 years ago signed the Social Security Act, he said it was to guard against the vicissitudes of life. People don't plan to die when it comes to survivor benefits, even though they paid into the Social Security program. Social Security is an earned benefit. I don't know what we would have done without it. Aunt, grandmother, you live as family. And I call attention to that because the conversation back in 2006, when former President Bush said he was going to privatize Social Security, was met with the disdain it should have been met with. The chairman of the Ways and Means Committee at the time compared our Social Security system to Chile's. And by the way, the Chilean government has now moved to the government benefit again. Social Security, in terms of efficiency, 99.8% of the benefits are paid on time to the correct people. For the president last night to imply that somebody 300 years old was getting a Social Security benefit, that's reckless. It also subtracts from the credibility that the American people depend upon with Social Security. We've done a lot here on retirement savings, really a big deal. But the underpinning of the Social Security system allows us to do the other things. You know, if you get your form for, let's say, a 401k plan that we have, one of the things you're always reminded of the print that's on it, future earnings are not based upon the guarantee of past performance. You know what it means? The stock market goes up, and as we've noticed over the last couple of days, the stock market goes down. But what doesn't go down is Social Security. That check is coming with the certainty and the dignity that people are deserving of. I was on the board of trustees at Mount Holyoke College for 10 years. Take satisfaction, it was a woman who was the inspiration for the Social Security Act, Frances Perkins, the Secretary of Labor, who urged Franklin Roosevelt to proceed with the Social Security initiative. Why is that important? It's important because she said the New Deal was born the day of the New York Shirtwaist Factory fire. And again, as I'll close on the note that John mentioned before, I think the average benefit is $24,000. That means half the people who get Social Security get less than $24,000 a year. That's less than $400 a week. So for me, not a dime to be cut from Social Security. Not a dime. Not an inch do we give them on Social Security. And by the way, all the years I've been here, for all their talk, there's never been a vote on Social Security. They've got a plan, put it up. Let's see it. Martin O'Malley did a great job as mayor of Baltimore. He did a great job as governor of Maryland. And he did a great job administering the Social Security system. He didn't see his job there as one putting it out of business. He saw his job there as to promote, defend, and expand the Social Security network. Great friend to me over many, many years and a terrific advocate. on behalf of Social Security. Governor O'Malley.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thanks very, very much. It's an honor to be with all of you. As Chairman Neal laid out for you, I, as the former Commissioner of Social Security, I had the honor to lead the hardworking men and women of Social Security in a remarkable year of turnaround, where after 10 years of House Republicans reducing the staffing at Social Security to a 50-year low, those hardworking men and women nonetheless turned around every timeliness indicator of service delivery in the agency in just 1 year. Brought the ALJ hearing times down from 405 days to 280. Nobody can remember when it was as speedy as 280 days on a decision. Reduced the hold time on the 1-800 number from 42 minutes down to 12 minutes. Was it where they were able to effectuate retiree claims within 2 weeks for 87% of people that called. They hadn't been able to do that in 10 years. So it's been with great sadness now that I've been elevated back to the rank of citizen in the Republic to watch this agency being dismantled, this agency being torn apart, the toxic workplace, that environment that they have now created in the agency, firing some of the best, the brightest, the most talented leaders, and firing them for cause when, in point of fact, they have no cause. The truth is Social Security for 90 years has never missed a monthly payment. But giving the wrecking ball and the people they are driving out of this agency, we are going to see several things happening in the very near-term future. Number one, we are going to see wait times skyrocket. And if they haven't pulled down those indicators that we had made public yet, you should check them out before they do, because they're all now moving in the wrong direction. So you're going to see wait times skyrocket. You're going to see intermittent failures of systems, the claims processing systems, and ultimately, because it all rides on top of old COBOL foundation, you are ultimately going to see a system collapse that will lead to an interruption of benefits. None of this is happening accidentally. It is all being brought about by the wrecking ball that has been cast against this agency. 50-year low in staffing, and they're driving it out as quickly as possible. It's interesting to me that how the people that are going after waste, fraud, and abuse would do away first with the division whose job it was to guard against improper payments, waste, fraud, and abuse. And now, gutting the agency, they're actually paying people not to come to work, paying people to leave right now and giving them dollars and paying them throughout the year. If a technology company, and part of Social Security is that undergirding technology, if somebody running a technology company were shooing people out the door without doing proper knowledge transfer for how to maintain these systems to effectuate the benefits and to pay people, that person would be fired by any private board in the private sector. This is totally irresponsible. It is all about wrecking an agency that for 90 years has never let the American people down. And it's my honor now to introduce a man who has also never let the American people down. He is a gentleman who cares deeply about Social Security and has fought, and he and I have had many good meetings in the past about sickle cell and making sure that people are treated with dignity and respect and the best standards of science. And it's my honor to introduce Representative Danny Davis.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioner. I am Representative Danny Davis from Chicago, Illinois, and I'm pleased to join with my friend and colleague, Representative John Larson from Connecticut, to lead the bill to halt the dangerous Republican attacks on Social Security benefits. Alarmingly, the Republicans are careening forward with their plans to gut Social Security. Not only did the richest man in the world lay the foundation for drastic cuts by calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme, can you imagine? But the GOP has also fired about 7,000 employees, indicated their intentions to reduce the SSA workforce by 50%, that's half, and announced the shuttering of field offices. Let me be clear. cuts to the Social Security Administration that prevent beneficiaries from assessing their benefits are absolutely, unequivocally backdoor cut of the benefits. At the time when the greatest number of baby boomers are retiring and need the most help, and when SSA already is at its lowest staffing level in decades, it is unconscionable, unbelievable that the Republicans seek to gut Social Security and throw out seniors, orphans, and those with disabilities into poverty. All baby boomers will be 67 by 2031. So we are in a peak period of retirement. Keeping our field offices open, and the Keeping Our Field Offices Open Act is an essential step to protecting Social Security benefits. These offices are a lifeline. In my district alone, 68,550 retired workers, 12,772 disabled workers, and 5,239 widowers or parents receive critical Social Security benefits. An additional 25,000 receive supplemental security income benefits. And so keeping these offices open, keeping these individuals working, is absolutely essential. And it's now my pleasure to present the gentleman from Las Vegas, Nevada, the immediate past chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, my friend, Representative Stephen Horsford.
Thank you, Representative Davis. It's great to be here with my colleagues. Look, I'm going to be direct. Elon Musk and his hackers need to take their grubby, greedy hands off of Social Security.
Yes, sir.
This is personal to me. In addition to the more than 140,000 constituents that I represent who rely on Social Security and their monthly benefit that they paid into over their lifetime, that they have earned. My grandmother, who suffered a debilitating stroke when I was just 3 weeks old, lived in a nursing home for 27 years of her life because of Social Security and Medicaid. Elon Musk and his hackers don't know shit about how to run Social Security.
That's right.
And it's time for their illegal actions, from the mass firings to the illegal data breach to the defunding of offices and contracts and grants to our constituents, which we authorize as Congress. I am a duly elected member of Congress.
Yes,
I fought to be here
Yes, sir.
in the halls of Congress.
Yes,
and I told my grandmother that one day I would be in a position to fight for her.
Yeah.
And while she may have passed, there are people in my district who are counting on me.
Yes, sir.
Not Elon Musk. Not his hackers. So if you won't appear before me, I'm letting you know, you will be held accountable. Now, I'm the co-lead, one of the co-leads for the Keeping Our Field Offices Open, because this is an act that ensures that their real intent, which is to defund Social Security by cutting $2 trillion in order to do one thing: give more tax breaks to Elon Musk, to billionaires, to tech tycoons, and to big corporations, most of whom sat in front of Trump's cabinet when he was inaugurated. But we're not going to let that happen either. Not on the backs of the beneficiaries of Social Security, not on the backs of Medicaid recipients, not on the backs of Americans who have worked so hard. While we are working to build up our country, Donald Trump, House Republicans, and Elon Musk are working to tear it down. I know how important the field offices are in my district. Cases from my constituents are going up, not down. I represent Las Vegas. I have a larger percentage of the aging population in my district. They need the services that are provided by our civil servants. And so I am proud to lead this legislation along with Ranking Member Larson of the Social Security Committee, as well as the chairman always of Ways and Means, Richie Neal, and my colleagues. And to our allies, I want you to know we are here standing with you, but it's the people back home who I'm working to defend. Elon Musk, you can call me. If you want to cut Social Security, call my office and meet with me so I can show you why Social Security means so much to the people of Nevada. With that, I'm proud to yield my time to the ranking member of the Health Committee, who is also working to defend our constituents from the egregious cuts to the health care programs, Representative Lloyd Doggett from Texas.
Thank you, Stephen. Those of us who work with John Larson have concluded that his middle name is Social Security because he raises it at every one of our meetings. Well, last night there was some laughter, and it was around the fact that Donald Trump lives in a fact-free environment. And when he's challenged to justify his position, he just makes things up. Or he turns to alternative facts, otherwise known as lies. And that's what happened last night. Among his many lies, perhaps one of the biggest ones was about Social Security. You'll remember the extended laughter as he ridiculed Social Security. Going hand in hand with Mr. Musk and his claim of a Ponzi scheme, Trump was telling us, can you believe it? They were paying out money to someone who is older than the American went through, and they kind of reached a crescendo about that. Well, you can't believe it because it's a lie. And Donald Trump and his minions know it's a lie. A good time ago, Social Security, following an Inspector General's report, set a limit that they would pay no claims above 115 years. So all that nonsense last night, he knew was not true. And in fact, regarding that diatribe, we know that Social Security has an incredible rate of paying the people that should get paid and doing it correctly. In fact, the 1%, I believe, of claims that were found to be in error, a good number of them were where Social Security paid too little, not too much. And in fact, I think everyone would concede Social Security can do better, is trying to do better, but you have to consider, as the former administrator indicated, that over the last 14 years, the Social Security budget has fallen by 19%. Staffing has gone down by almost as much, but the number of people that Social Security serves has gone up by 25%. And what is the solution to the problem of any improper payments that Trump and Musk are proposing? Well, cut at least 7,000 more Social Security workers. Close at least 10 field offices. And that's what this legislation is designed to prevent. And along with that, of course, is their insatiable desire for more tax credits, telling our Ways and Means Committee that we are instructed to increase the deficit by $4.5 trillion for more tax cuts for Elon Musk and his billionaires. That could leave a real challenge to the Social Security system. We are determined to defeat it and to support these determined Social Security Administration workers who've done such a great job and ought not to face the slashing that Elon Musk and Donald Trump are urging. I believe I yield to my colleague, the chair of the, soon to be the chair, the ranking member on our revenue subcommittee, Mike Thompson from California.
Thank you, Mr. Doggett. John Larson, thank you very much for doing this. And thanks to all my colleagues who are here, both members of Congress and the folks who work tirelessly on the outside to make sure that we protect Social Security. I just want to say for a moment how much work and effort John Larson has put into this effort to save Social Security, to expand Social Security, to make sure that Social Security is staffed at a level that could deliver for the people who depend upon Social Security. He's done a fantastic job, including making these Social Security cards for all of us. Every one of us has a card, and it will tell us how what Social Security means to our district. For example, mine says that there's 153,160 Social Security recipients in my district, California 4, and they receive $286 million in Social Security checks every month. This is important for their existence, and it's important for our communities. Most of those dollars are spent right away in every one of our districts. So to cut Social Security not only hurts people who have worked hard all their life and are trying to retire with dignity and security, but it also devastates local economies. And I think that's important to point out. I grew up and still live and represent the Napa Valley in California. Always been an agricultural area, known now for the great grapes that we produce that makes world-class wine. But when I was growing up, it was largely prunes. And everybody picked prunes when we were kids. And my mother had a great saying. When somebody was being loose and fast with the truth, making things up, or disparaging a great program like Social Security, she'd say, he's full of prunes. And if she were alive today, that's exactly what she would have said last night. Because this is an important program. It doesn't need to be lied about. It doesn't need to be cut. Services and staff don't need to be cut to make it more difficult for people to get their services. We need to understand how important this is. Every speaker who's been at this podium today has said one word, and that's dignity. Dignity. And for me, I have a real personal experience with Social Security. My grandmother lived right next to us my whole childhood growing up. Her job was sewing gloves at the Napa Glove Factory, making gloves for Seabees during World War II, hard worker. And when she retired, I knew she had a pension, and I knew she had Social Security. She didn't have a car. We lived close enough town she could walk to get her groceries. And she didn't have a lot of money, but she lived with security and with dignity. Years after she died, just to show you how important Social Security is, I was going through a box of her records, and I found the records for her retirement benefit, $53 a month. She could not have lived on that. It was Social Security, that third leg that we talk about so often, that made sure she could live with dignity and security. Every American deserves the same. Elon Musk has no idea what regular people go through. He needs to keep his grubby mitts off of Social Security. He needs to keep his interns out of our data, both at Social Security, at the IRS, and every place else they're snooping around. And we need to stand tall for Social Security. So thank you all. And it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Congresswoman Linda Sanchez, the ranking member of the Trade Subcommittee.
You're here.
Thank you, Mike. And I'm really honored and pleased to stand with my colleagues and our allies to talk about a really critical program for the American people, and that is Social Security. In my district alone, there are almost 130,000 Social Security recipients, including thousands of retirees, widows, and disabled workers. In addition, my district is also home to one of California's Social Security field offices, which employs hard-working, public service-minded Americans. President Trump and co-President Musk have already shut down 10 field offices, and who's to say that they will stop there? Let me be clear that cutting Social Security staff is cutting Social Security.
Here, here.
making it hard for individuals to access the benefits that they have earned, making it hard for them to apply for assistance, is cutting Social Security. When your grandmother has trouble applying for Social Security, she goes to a field office. When your neighbor suffers an accident that prevents them from working, they go to a field office to apply for disability assistance. These are the safety net programs that Americans depend on. But billionaires like President Trump and Elon Musk don't understand this. No. They don't have to worry about that. They've never had to worry about whether they can retire or support their families after an accident. And they don't care that slashing these jobs hurts everyone. I have to give a lot of credit to my colleague, John Larson, who has introduced several Social Security bills that intend to keep the field offices open, protect our private data, and hold this administration accountable. Now, I tell folks, I come from very humble beginnings. Both of my parents worked hard their entire lives to raise 7 children, all of us college graduates, and 2 of their daughters members of the United States Congress. I'm fortunate that I come from a large family, because when both of them came down with Alzheimer's, that large family was able to share the burden, the financial burden and the caregiving burden for them for as long as possible. But when they needed a higher level of care, it was their Social Security benefits and their Medicare that allowed them to get the care that they need. I want to tell the American public, don't wait until they throw your parents out of a nursing home to understand what is going on here. Don't wait until the Social Security benefits for your grandparents stop before you stand up and raise your voice against what is happening. This is just the first step, but make no mistake, they intend to gut the Social Security program so they can line the pockets of the richest Americans who don't need the financial help. So do your part. Make sure that you contact your representatives to let them know how important these programs are. And with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to a sister in solidarity who fights every day for working families, the fabulous Gwen Moore.
Let me just thank all of our allies and thank John Larson for his continued and strident support of the Social Security benefit. One of the things that I think is really important to do is to ask those people who essentially believe Donald Trump and trust his word. I'm asking you to do some critical thinking right now. Donald Trump has said that he's not going to touch Social Security. And you know, God knows that we hope that that is the case. But let's just ask ourselves, if he's purging Social Security staff, does that look like he's trying to preserve Social Security? If he's closing field offices and hearing offices where our constituents can seek help, and as someone else has pointed out, I mean, we have the greatest numbers of Social Security applicants right now because the baby boomers there are 10,000 of them turning 65 every single day. Is this the opportune time to close offices?
No, ma'am.
No. And then we have you, Elon Musk, snooping around in our confidential Social Security Administration, which is illegal, which is a crime for you to be doing. Does that look like someone, President Trump, who does not intend to bother your Social Security? Now, the thing that I find most telling is that Republicans are moaning and bemoaning the fact that they can't really directly make Social Security cuts through the reconciliation process. And that whining is instructive to me, that they're still trying to figure out how to do it. And when you hear, I'm talking to you, when you hear them saying that they will cut taxes on overtime, cut taxes on seniors' wages, please know that they are talking about cutting Social Security. They're talking about undermining Social Security. So I don't care you, one of the 85 million eligible voters that didn't vote at all, or the 75 million that voted for Donald Trump, or 75 million who voted for Kamala Harris. I don't care who you are. Your mama, your grandmama, your father-in-law, your kids, your neighbor needs Social Security. And you need to be standing with us to protect Social Security. You know, one of Donald Trump's former chiefs of staff sat before the Joint Economic Committee laughing when we asked him the question of where they intended to get all this money to provide these $4.5 trillion worth of tax cuts. And he made the joke. So why did Jesse James rob banks? Because that is where the money is. And so he said that Social Security is where the money is. Trust me, these are the oligarchy headed up by Donald Trump and Elon Musk. They're looking for where the money is. And the money is in your Social Security. And for your retirement is where they want to transfer that wealth to the wealthiest tycoons in this country. Don't believe me? Just watch. And now I'm going to turn it over to Representative Jonathan Jackson, who has not made it here, but Max Rickman. Oh my God. This is such a champion of Social Security. He's the president of the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare. And trust me, he's everywhere. He shows up here in D.C. He shows up in Milwaukee. If he hasn't been to your community, it must be because there are no buses, cars, or trains or planes that get there. Max, give us the word.
Thank you, Congressman, for that introduction. You've given me a lot more work to do. I can see that right away. So last night I was watching the speech, and I got a text. I got a text from a friend of mine. I'm going to read it. The Wizard of Oz is 86 years old. If Dorothy were to encounter people now with no brains, heart, or courage, she wouldn't be in Oz. She'd be in a D.C. room with congressional Republicans. This is real. So normally I wouldn't read that kind of a text, but these are not normal times. I saw one of the paddles last night. This is not normal. This is not normal. And how else do you explain an audience last night clapping, cheering, ovations, applause for lie after lie after lie? Yes. How else do you explain it? I don't know. And this includes Social Security. So if you'll allow me, Mr. Chairman, you'll be chairman soon, I just want to say that for the last couple years, as the Congresswoman said, I've been traveling around the country, doing town hall meetings, forums, and I've been trying to dispel some of I call them myths when I'm trying to be polite, but they're lies. Yes. The lies about Social Security. And we've all heard them. We've heard them for years. Social Security is bankrupt. It's not true. There's no money in Social Security. The money was stolen, just a bunch of IOUs. That's not true. Social Security is an entitlement. That's not true. It's an earned benefit. We all know that. Undocumented workers are collecting Social Security. Not true. And if anything, undocumented workers sometimes are able to get a number, a Social Security number. They pay payroll tax, their employer pays, but they can never collect. That money stays in Social Security. And the members of Congress, I'm sure, standing here have heard this. Members of Congress don't pay Social Security. That's not true. Members of Congress do pay Social Security. You know that. So last night, on top of all these lies, myths, we heard a new set of dangerous lies, really dangerous lies. Millions of people are collecting Social Security that are 150, 200, 300 years old.
That's right. Oh, I was screaming from the audience.
That's ridiculous, and we all know that. But all of these myths, the ones I just ran through, the lies that we heard last night, they have one thing in common. One thing, they are designed to undermine the overwhelming support in this country for Social Security. All of the polling for years has shown us that Democrats, Republicans, Independents overwhelmingly support the Social Security program, and beyond supporting it, they want to improve it, enhance it, as Congressman Larson has been focused on for the last number of years. President Trump knows. He knows how popular Social Security is. That's why he keeps saying, I won't touch it. He knows that it is something the American people support, but he is doing everything he can to soften that support, including these drastic cuts that we've been talking about this afternoon to the field offices, to the people that provide the services and the information to beneficiaries, not just to beneficiaries, but to workers that need information. So the legislation that is going to be introduced is very important to build, I call it a firewall, to help maintain these programs and to make sure that President Trump, co-President Musk, understand that this campaign to undermine, to undercut Social Security, as the commissioner said, by using a wrecking ball on the agency, that will not work. And this legislation will ensure that. So we as the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare endorse it. Thank you, Congressman. Thank all the members of Congress that have supported this. Thank you. Oh, I'm going to introduce Robert Roach, President of the Alliance for Retired Americans.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Congressman Larson, for inviting us to speak here today. This is a crucial moment in our country. Aside from what is being proposed, when every time they get up and they speak about cuts and they speak about closing offices, there is an emotional toll. There's an emotional toll on our retirees. They're sitting home. Many of them are sitting home thinking that next check will not come because of all the rhetoric that's coming out of the White House. They're thinking that, how am I going to live? A young lady, when I was leaving the building, said, well, you guys explain all this. She said, please tell them that my 91-year-old mother sits by the TV all day long to get information because she believes her Social Security check will not arrive the next month. It is very timely that this meeting was called and voices have been lifted, and the congressman and all the voices that are being lifted today. We must speak about this every day. We must let people know that we are fighting not just to protect their Social Security, but to enhance their Social Security. Yeah. We must let them know that we're fighting for something.
Yes.
We must let them know that we will be the voice and we will be supporting Congressman Larson and others, who is our champion on Social Security. Yes. We stood with Congressman Larson in the past. We stand with him today, and we will be with him tomorrow through all this legislation he's trying to put out. Yes. But you must remember, through all the rhetoric, through all the talk and all the stuff about $2 trillion, there is an emotional toll. People are putting in for Social Security early because they think they're going to lose it, putting another pressure on the system. We need more people at Social Security answering the phones. And we don't need people going through all our records and making up stories. Because people believe this. My 300 years old collecting Social Security, come on. But there are people who are listening to this stuff. They're hearing it, and it's taking an emotional strain, shortening our seniors' lives. It's putting a toll on the family. because a family who's trying to help grandma or mother or the aunt is taking on this responsibility. It's even harder when they're not self-sustaining. So we know what it is. We know what the problem is. We support this legislation 100%. Our 4.4 million members in 38 states and all the swing states will be supporting this legislation. We just to get it to a vote, because the time has come to lift our voice louder than their voice and say, we are for something. Yeah. We are for something. We're not just fighting against something. We are for something, and we will fight on behalf of all the seniors of what we are for. And we got no greater leader than Congressman Larson. Congressman Larson, thank you. Thank you, and God bless you. We're with you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Nancy
Oh, and let me introduce my sister. Nancy Auburn worked on the Pension Rights Center. She's our chairman, and she has some words to speak on. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I want to start by thanking Congressman Larson and all of the colleagues of his that have spoken here today, and in fact, all of his Democratic colleagues who have been fighting, championing Social Security, and who are co-sponsoring this extremely important legislation. Social Security has survived wars. It's survived 2 pandemics. It's survived the attempt by President George W. Bush and the Republican Congress to privatize Social Security. But I've now worked on this program for 50 of those 90 years. Yeah. And I'll tell you, the biggest threat Social Security has ever faced is Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and we have to make sure that they do not win.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the first field office was set up in 1936. There are 1,200 field offices across this country. There should actually be more. They are in every district. They are in every community. They, like the post office, are the face of the government. But you know what Donald Trump and Elon Musk did when they came into office and got power? Elon Musk told the General Services Administration to cancel every lease. Every lease. That means your local field office that you depend on and your friends and family depend on is going to be gone. We cannot let that happen. Now, at the same time, when they came in, they said, okay, no more telework. Everybody has to come to work come to the office. They're all working very hard. But now they have to spend the time and the money to come to the office. Well, wait a minute. I thought I just told you that they were going to terminate every office. How do you fit that round peg into that square hole? Well, obviously, you fire all the workers, and that's what they're doing. They are terrorizing the workers. They've terminated the most senior people who have 35, 40 years of experience, who are there because they believed in the mission. They're all gone now. There's been an enormous brain drain in just the last month. They're talking about now firing 7,000 more workers, but I don't think they're stopping there. They've talked about getting rid of all the offices. So we've got to continue to fight. And I really thank our champions who are part of that fight. Now, we've also been talking and hearing about the minions, Elon Musk's minions, who are rummaging through all our most personal and confidential data, including medical records of anybody who's applied for disability benefits. There is zero legitimate reason for those people to have access to that information. At best, they could have inadvertent leaked security breaches, and we know that seniors disproportionately have been hit by scams. So we may have that in our future. But we know that Donald Trump is quite vindictive. So now he has everybody's records. Who knows what he's going to do to his enemies, having that kind of access. So let me end with an important note. And that is, as others have said, Donald Trump says he's not going to cut Social Security. Well, cutting our field offices is cutting Social Security. But even more than that, we just heard Elon Musk call Social Security a Ponzi scheme. You know who called it a Ponzi scheme before that? Donald Trump. If you look at his 2000 book he wrote in 2000, The America We Deserve, he called Social Security a Ponzi scheme. He said it should be privatized. He has shown his disdain for Social Security, but he also said in an interview with Sean Hannity before he started running for Congress that Republicans better get bipartisan cover because when they try to cut Social Security, they'll all be defeated. So he gets the politics. So I just want to repeat what others have said. We cannot wait till the benefits are cut. We cannot wait until the agency is totally out and collapses. Everyone should insist that they should be calling their members every single day and insisting that the Ways and Means Committee, Finance Committee, haul Earl and Elon Musk in front of them and demand to know what is going on. So with that, again, thank you so much, and I turn it back to the chairman. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. And because the person who represents all those civil servants who are under attack, Rick Kelly.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Congressman Larson, Neil Davis, and other representatives and leaders who have joined us here today. You know, I serve as the national president of the American Federation of Government Employees, representing the 40,000 employees at the Social Security Administration. And I want to pause and say thank you to all of those workers. You know, and they are working every day to make sure that fellow Americans get the benefits that they earn and that they need. Your work is greatly appreciated. And it's shameful how the Trump administration is treating our public servants. Now, we already have long delays on the public to get a phone call answered or to claim a disability benefit. About 30,000 Americans die while waiting to get their disability benefits. Now, while the number of beneficiaries is rising, Social Security Administration is at its lowest staffing level in over 25 years. Now, they're trying to close dozens of field offices in communities and even put Social Security headquarters up for sale. Now, yesterday, Congresswoman Terry Sewell of Alabama invited one of our Social Security workers from Alabama to be their guest at the State of the Union address. And I talked to this worker, and I learned that they wanted to close 4 field offices in Alabama. To get another office, seniors and disabled people will have to travel at a minimum of more than an hour away from where they live. Now, this is just one example, but the people of Alabama deserve better, right? The people of America deserve better. And AFG is proud to support the Keeping Our Field Office Open Act and the Protecting America's Social Security Data Act. We're proud to do that. And we're here today to say that enough is enough. Now, my mother didn't have the opportunity to work much in her life. She had 13 children. I'm number 5. And so she had to depend on my father's Social Security in order to survive because he died and she had to fend and live and raise all of us off of that Social Security. Now, so we're here to tell Donald Trump to keep his hands off of the field offices, off of the communities, and the families across this country. Keep your hands off of sensitive Social Security data. People's earnings and medical histories shouldn't be given to those without security clearances, right? That's right. And those that might handle it carelessly. Now, I heard people say, and heard Donald Trump say that, the Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. Well, what do you think what they're doing? What do you call that?
A Ponzi scheme.
I call that a drug deal.
That's right. Yeah.
I call it an illegal drug deal.
Yeah.
And what Congressman Larson and others are doing here is making a citizen arrest. And we have to stand together and make this arrest. We got to make sure that this drug deal go bad. And it's up to us. And we will do it. We will stand and we will fight until all of those, the kingpin and all, is arrested by the citizens of the United States of America. Thank you. Thank you for doing it. I appreciate all of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Everett. You got to get a little more fired up, though. Listen, I want to thank everybody for being here this afternoon, but I want to close with this note. Everybody standing here, and especially Gwen and I and all the former members that were here, and Governor, thank you, and Commissioner, thank you for being here with us as well, have been advocates for Social Security throughout a lifetime and understand what's on the line here. And I said earlier, we may have been born at night, but not last night.
Definitely not last night.
And when you have a system that is set up and you hire someone outside of government who's humble, did not have to go through any Senate affirmation process, does not have to come before any committee, and you charge him with coming up with $2 trillion worth of cuts, and you examine the federal budget and see that 70% of the federal budget is comprised of defense, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. But only one of those, because of the brilliance of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, has a trust fund, a fund that is sitting there that has the focus of Elon Musk.
Yes, he is.
They are looking, as several have said before, follow the money. That's what they're looking at. And why? Why? Because the Trump legacy, as he sees it, is taking those 2017 tax breaks that were put into law but sunset in 2025 permanent. Anyone here can recite what that value is. $2 trillion. They are coming for our Social Security. They're going to try to do it over time and with the guise that they're there to protect and secure it. And what they're looking for is to rout out waste, abuse, and fraud. That is not what they're after. It's going to take the Fourth Estate and the media to re-energize itself as well and look at the numbers and how do they achieve it and why are they after it and why are they not in front of our committees. We need 3 Republicans, just 3, in the House of Representatives to demand that they speak the truth before the committees of cognizance. And that's why I'm so proud of the Ways and Means Committee. I'm so proud of Hakeem Jeffries. He and Rich Neal are revitalizing the effort and Social Security 2100 so that we are taking a solution before the American people that not only protects Social Security but expands it for the first time in more than 54 years. That's why we're gathered here today. That's why they're going to know that we're engaged. And also, we weren't born at night. We know what you're after, and we're onto it, and we're bringing you before the committee. Members of the press, please ask our Republican colleagues whether they're for or against the bill or they got a better idea. Why is Mr. Musk not accountable to come before the Committee of Cognizance when he's proposing the kind of cuts that he is? What is it? Is it his wealth that allows him not to come before duly elected people of the American public? That's the real issue in question here, and that's where we have to remain engaged. You got a better idea? You got a better one? Put it on the table. We're glad to examine it as well, but we need them to come before us. Thank you all so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, sir. Always enjoy. Thank you, sir.
All right, buddy. Just sit up, everybody.
All right.
That's great. Thanks so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Great, John
All right.
Larson. Thank you for fighting.
And tomorrow, actually, the town hall meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you've heard that. 8 o'clock tomorrow by Zoom.